There are closers who meet that frenzy and noise and passion and basically say, I'm going to be on the mound as the most amped up person in this amped up ballpark. How did you confront that moment in your own mind? However it looked on the outside, what was it like between your ears during those
Oh,
moments?
it was total chaos. I wanted to look like Mariano and Trevor, and I felt like Goose. That's how it was. I didn't want to fail, and so I had all the little negativities going on in my head, going, "Hey, don't blow this, don't do that." But I want, how did you feel when you walk out? Because everybody would think I was menacing and just angry and things like that, but it was really the insecurities of all that. But mastering that took time and a lot of time. And I mean, I don't know if I ever really mastered it. It was just, it's like anything else. As long as you're doing your job, they keep putting you out there. And so you just keep, every day's a new adventure. The first time you go out there in a big situation and you get through it, that moment is so overwhelming. It's almost outer body. And I think of the time in '96 when I faced the Giants in a big moment. That was when I got accepted into, like, on our team. Like, oh, he's not afraid of the big moments. So that's when Bagwell and Biggio kind of accepted me into that role. And then, but the times when I wasn't very good, how do you rebound? Because there was like every year there was like a series or a moment where I wasn't very good, and how did you respond to that? How those were the things that you had to learn to deal with, and once you could figure out, like, hey, you started being able to say, I made good pitches, I'm not making good pitches, I didn't. How do I handle what I'm saying? Once you could learn that, it got a little easier. But I mean, me and Trevor would, when we go to San Diego, whatever, we'd find a way to sit behind and just talk about what's going on, because it was baffling. I would watch Trevor, and nothing against Mariano, but I had never seen anybody like Trevor. I mean, Lord, I can only imagine what it was like when he was actually throwing hard and stuff. But his changeup was so menacing, and I just having conversations with him, sitting there just shaking my head, going, because I hear what the hitters are saying, and I'm like, do you realize? I mean, they are so intimidated. They would much rather face me every day than face you. And I think that's, figuring out what dominance really was having those talks with Trevor, having talks with Franco, and one of the biggest, I think, real quotes that I read that really made me feel good was from Eckersley, and it was the fear of failure. He feared failure so much that all the things he would do on the mound was the insecurity of that fear. And I remember him looking at when he was with St. Louis at the end of his career, and I'm with the Astros, and he punches out a guy and looks over and gives us this, and then talking to him when I was in Boston, and you're like, but having and knowing what he went through and what those words meant made me understand what I was feeling. And it helped me get through those anxiety periods and things like that, because you can't go out there and not have some moment of anxiety or something like that. Mariano, Trevor, all these guys, there was, I always thought they never blew a save. But once I was really into being a closer, and, you go into New York, you would hear, is this Mariano's swan song? Or you would, the same thing with Trevor, and you're sitting here going, my God, do these people not know who these people are? But those were the things that, for me, after I found out, I was like, oh, this happens everywhere. Okay, then yeah, well, I'm right where I need to be. So, but there was a lot of discussions with those guys, and a lot of their experiences helped me to really understand how to be a closer, and to have a bad day and come back and be ready to go the next day. And and it was never easy here, because I was you're constantly going, oh my God, I just blew a save, and because everybody thinks you should go out there and it should be easy to throw one inning, get 3 outs and all these things, but sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. And so when you go through that and you come in, you answer the questions of like, well, how could you have given up a home run to David Eckstein? How could you have done this? And you're like, well, they're pretty good. But you can't say that. You can't say that because then everybody's like, oh, well, does that mean you're not good? Or, you had to figure out how to play the game within the game. And talking to all these closers was the only way that, that got me through that 16 years.